Alright everyone, welcome back, and today we are going to do a top 10 adult/mature list once again for comics. Now, I've done two of these in the past and I usually like to separate them for a few years so we get some new titles in here, and today I'm just going to talk about 10 mature titles. Now, this can contain things like sex, violence, or just overall anything more mature oriented, and with that I'm also talking about things that I think more adults would appreciate or enjoy having gone through life a little bit more. Now, this isn't to say these titles can't be enjoyed by a younger audience, but I think they're going to be appreciated by more of an adult audience for these type of books. So I say let's just dive right in and jump on to my number 10 pick. My number 10 pick is Somna. Kicking off this list, it's a visually striking book. It's actually written by Becky Cloonan and Tula Laude, who is the artist, but actually Becky also does some of the art. So it's actually two artists mixing their styles, and this comic is truly something else. It's set in the 1600s during the witch trials or hunts, and we follow Ingrid, a woman who is unhappily married to Roland, who happens to be one of the head chief witch hunters. After a death in the town sparks suspicion, Ingrid, sexually frustrated in her marriage, begins to experience these intense sexual fantasies, particularly at night, of course. But as her secrets come to light, her situation takes a dangerous turn. So that's kind of just the overall what you're going to get into. But on a personal note, I actually want to just talk about the fact that in college, I took a history course focused on the witch trials. So seeing that this historical period is handled in such a manner in comic form really worked for me. It's just a brutal time, especially obviously for women, and Somna doesn't shy away from that reality. It portrays a dark, twisted, and frankly dirty world filled with unpleasant people leading to horrific consequences. The sexual elements are perfect because they go right into the narrative, so it all flows and doesn't feel like it's just thrown in there just to have sex, and it is quite graphic, so be prepared for that. This mature content combined with the storytelling and the dreamlike beautiful art, creating just this compelling character study on Ingrid and her personal demons. If you're looking for a mature title that leaves an impression, this one is definitely worth checking out. So my number 9 is going to be Sunstone Mercy. Now, the original Sunstone series made my list many years ago, and for good reason. And I believe that Mercy, the sequel, deserves its own spot. Stefan continues to beautifully illustrate these compelling characters, including some very steamy scenes. You know what I'm talking about. But more importantly, what he does is deliver excellent character work. So Anne, whom we know from the original Sunstone series, takes center stage here as we follow her journey to find the love in the past. So we get to see a lot more of her, but also the development between Allie and Alan in their early years. So that's kind of cool because we get like glimpses of that in the original Sunstone, but we really get to see it in here. So all of that really works. You get a lesbian relationship in this one again, but you also get the straight relationship between Allie and Alan, and eventually that doesn't work, but they have a really great bond as best friends. While not quite as strong as the original Sunstone in my opinion, it's still an amazing series, and if you want some steamy scenes with excellent character work, this one is worth reading. Coming at number 8 is Deviant, and that's by James Tynion and Joshua Hickson, and it is basically or essentially the Silence of the Lambs, but in comic form, and that's a huge compliment. It's a slow burn murder mystery that gets increasingly darker and more twisted as it goes along, while also addressing the mistreatment faced by individuals based on their sexual preference by various different institutions and people, and I love that. It explores how the media can manipulate narratives, how monsters can exist in plain sight, and how our initial perception aren't always accurate. So all of this has many layers to the comic that make it really intriguing, and each issue left me wanting to reread it immediately. If you appreciate dark, twisted mysteries with a persistent sense of unease, I think Deviant is an absolute must-have for your comic library. Now, I know I said superhero comics don't typically make this style of the list, but fuck it. I'm going to include the run of Green Arrow because I recently reread the first half, and I believe that it belongs here. To fully appreciate this title too, I think you have to have some adult life experiences because it definitely helps with the narrative. The older you get, the more you might connect with Oliver Queen during this period. See, he's navigating a midlife crisis, considering fatherhood, living his life with his partner, Black Canary, and dealing with significant PTSD, and it all just comes together remarkably well. This run tackles mature subject matters like sexual abuse, manipulation, gangs, torture, and much more, and it's a heavy title. But despite being written in the 80s, it feels surprisingly relevant today, and you can also just get right into it. It doesn't have a lot of that over monologue or anything that a lot of the 70s and 80s comics do. For superhero fans seeking a bit more of a mature story, I think this one is a must read. Alright, coming in at number 6 is Hot Paprika. Yes, we have a spicy, comedy-driven, and incredibly over-the-top comic. I gotta be honest, this isn't one of my favorites, just due to the sheer absurdity, but I think, honestly, after reading the whole thing, I think many fans of this type of comic will really enjoy it. So I think it deserves to be on this list. It's packed filled with crazy, zany humor. And if you like shows like, I guess, like Rick and Morty or things like that, I think you're going to enjoy a lot of the characters yelling at each other and they just go over the top expressions, things like that I think you would enjoy. For me, I did enjoy the overall art. I appreciate the sexy elements. I think they're very much presented in your face, so you're going to see everything. Obviously, I can't show it on YouTube, but if you pick up or write the name Hot Paprika comic into Google, you'll see what I mean. They can be very hot, but they also are surprisingly many sweet and wholesome moments in this. That part I really enjoyed. So while the humor wasn't for me, I enjoyed everything else about this comic. So I think if you like this type of humor, you're going to love it. It's a fun comic for sure. And currently there's a full hardcover edition available that collects the entire series for about $40. So if this sounds like your kind of thing, pick it up. My number 5 is Sandman Mystery Theater. This is set in the 1930s, and Sandman Mystery Theater introduces us to the millionaire Wesley, who becomes a vigilante known as Sandman. No, this isn't Neil Gaiman's version. This is a regular man hunted by these like vivid dreams of violent murders and sexual abuse, which he tries to either solve or prevent the reality. I recently read the first compendium, and it covers the initial 36 issues, and this is an adult title. It's very dense. It explores heavy themes that really encompass everything from kidnapping to murder to sexual assault and much more. This is for adults, not only because of the content, but also because, like I said, it's heavy, sometimes slow burning narrative that I think requires a lot more of a mature mindset to fully appreciate. If I read this in my teens, I don't think I would have enjoyed it, but I'm glad I read it in my 30s because I really loved it. If you're drawn to these darker themes combined with excellent character development, give this 90s Vertigo title a try. If ever there was a comic that felt like an HBO show in print, it would be Scalped. Written by Jason Aaron and art by R.M. Gura, I believe. This is a gritty, fucked up story set in a town populated by the absolute worst kind of people. When Dash Badhorse, a Native American who grew up on this reservation, returns, he goes undercover to try to take down basically the local criminal kingpin. But as we delve deeper and we discover that the FBI and the police are just as corrupted and morally bankrupt as the criminals we're supposed to hunt, well, it gets nasty. And then you have the other gangs from other places joining the fray. Things escalate into utter chaos. Fans of shows like The Wire or Oz or Breaking Bad will find themselves in familiar territory here. This is seedy, this is grimy, this is a comic that truly earns its mature rating, and I think you would love it if you love those type of shows in comic form. Number 3 is The Fade Out. Now, you knew an Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips title had to make my list. I think I made that list every single time I made one of these lists, but come on. The Fade Out is an incredible story set in the golden age of Hollywood, centered around a murder of a rising star who the mystery of what happened and how slowly unfolds. The artwork is fantastic, as always. Do you expect anything less from Sean Phillips? And the storytelling is even better. If you're looking for a comic that reads like a compelling film noir murder mystery, well, this is your comic. This is the kind of comic I usually recommend to people who say, I don't really read comics, because I think that's a high compliment, because even fans like me who read so much of this medium and love comics, I absolutely love this comic, but at the same time, I could see someone who has never picked up a comic book open this up and thoroughly enjoy it. So that's kind of the highest recommendation I can give you. This comic is one of those titles that you need to pick up if you haven't read yet. Number 2 is Monstrous, and I gotta say, it sucks that I just got into this series because, oh my god, it is so good. So this is a dark, epic fantasy set in a world steeped in darkness after a brutal war, and our protagonist, Micah, I believe is how you say her name, and she has this powerful demon living inside her arm. Yeah, things get weird and intense here. This dark fantasy feels like a compelling blend of maybe like Berserk, Inuyasha, some Game of Thrones, and much, much more, and they all just came together and made this. The artwork is stunning, the themes are dark and complex, and our lead character isn't afraid to use some colorful language that I absolutely love and relate to. Plus, Kippa, the absolute most adorable and cute character to ever exist, deserves her own series, by the way, is perfect. If you're a fan of dark fantasy, I think Monstrous is an absolute must read. So my number 1 choice is It's a Lonely at the Center of the Earth. See, this is about a woman named Zoe. She's actually a comic artist who is basically writing her life. But I believe it is a must read for adults because I think anyone who's navigated through the complexities of life can find something to connect with here. Zoe's deeply personal exploration of her own depression and struggle with self-worth is so relatable, and I think it can resonate deeply. It did with me, and I think a lot of people can relate here. As someone who has dealt with depression myself, it's almost a bit, or both, cathartic and at times unsettling because you recognize these feelings either from your own experience or from witnessing someone else's, and at the same time there's this profound sense of like understanding for someone going through these challenges. So combine that with her unique and excellent artwork, it's no wonder that this won multiple Eisners. It delivers just a powerful and complex story about just surviving life, and I think anyone out there, especially these last few years, can relate to that in some way. Surviving life even though it gets messy and fucked up. And that is my list for 10 mature titles. Now, I think I always like to do a nice range of different style of comics. So on here, we got some stuff that is more sexual. We got some stuff that is more violent. We have stuff that deals with adult content. So if you are into comics like that, and you're not so much into the typical superhero or teenage comics, which there are plenty of great ones of those, all these titles are worth picking up. I think anybody can enjoy something on this list depending on your taste in just general media. And I hope you guys do pick up this comic. If you have some that you want to list, please put them below, because there's comics that I haven't checked out that I would love to. And then on top of that, they might make my list next time. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this list. If you did, as always, please hit that like button. That means a lot. If you loved it, hit the subscribe button. I got a lot more nerdy stuff coming out. And everybody, have a wonderful, wonderful day.